Thank you for joining me this week. We're going to bring you another story from my book out on Amazon right now, Always Many Incidents, Stories and More. Collection of short stories, some true, some not so true, almost all based in some fact. Today's story, though, is a story that's a true story recounted to me by my great Aunt Bridget, who was a nun. Nuns don't lie. But it's a story of possession. And if you've heard episode 3 of our series, it also starred Bridget. She was the young girl, the young babe in the crib that was watched over by the ghostly maid. And then she was the young teenage Bridget who saw the same ghost, although she never was aware of her existence because the parents had kept it from them, which, when the story was recounted to me, reaffirmed to me the existence of ghosts. I thought it was really haunting how the two things came together. But Aunt Bridget, and we'll get to this in another story, great Aunt Bridget, she received a vision from God as a young teenager, and she left her family in Ireland. She went to British controlled Ceylon, Sri Lanka, where she worked in a mission, helping convert locals, but also educating people, teaching the children, um, bringing some health practices to them, things like this. A really holy life she led. We gathered in my grandmother's Jackson Heights apartment one Christmas, and she recounted to me many stories, but this was one that always fascinated me because possession is truly frightening. The idea that this demonic being with bad intentions can inhabit someone's body and take over is truly frightening. But what I remember most, even more than the story, and I think a little bit this might be in the story though, was we had a massive feast for my great Aunt Bridget. My grandmother Finola McGinnis married an Italian immigrant, Charles Calogero Comparetto from Sicily, and they prepared a massive feast with wine and pasta and sausage and meatballs and everything that you could imagine, and it was amazing. Um, and they piled my plate high, and they actually food shamed me if I didn't take seconds, which I was happy to do so, by the way. But I'll never forget my great aunt sitting across from me, staring at me, telling me these stories with these blue eyes that you felt could see into your soul. She was a very frail woman, very thin. You could see her blue veins running through her body. And she had a few strands of spaghetti on her plate. And she actually, and this was blasphemy for Italians because we learned you swirl and you spin the fork and you pick it up and you eat it. She had her strands of spaghetti laid out on her plate, and she, with her fork and her knife, cut pieces of spaghetti and ate them one by one. And so she truly gave up much to go and help the people there. And she came back with some amazing stories. And my favorite one was one I call The Girl in the Tree, a true story. The little girl slithered up the tree like a snake, her arms at her side. She defied all scientific rationale. She defied gravity. This child of the Sinhalese, whose education was that of any 11-year-old in Ceylon in 1918, which is to say, she was very much uneducated, began speaking in a language that even the wiser men of the village could not comprehend. Children ran crying from the sight of her to their mothers, and only the bravest men attempted to coax the child from the tree. What is she saying? This is some evil. But the notion that was gaining the most support was this one. She is a Yaku. She is a demon. She is the cause of this blight. She must be killed at once. For there was a blight that had consumed the town, the result of which was ruining the local economy. Giant, painful bags of skin and liquid began growing from the villagers' armpits. Probably some form of elephantitis, although no diagnosis was ever made. Most of the town people were stricken with this painful and disfiguring malady. A voice rose up. Do not kill her. I know what the girl is saying. It was a fair-haired teenager, a newly arrived Irish girl, a nun from the new Catholic mission that had the gall to speak up. She is speaking in Latin, she said. There was a great murmur of dissatisfaction with this girl's boldness. How dare she interfere in these matters best settled by men? Go away, child. This is not your business. But Sister Bridget McGinnis would not be swayed so easily. As you wish. But she says she knows how to stop, even cure, the spread of this disease that cripples your people. What's this you say? She speaks gibberish. How can she know of these things? Begone, little white girl. But a shaman man who was in the area overheard this exchange and said, do not dismiss this child. See what she has to say. So the Adura led the young sister to the tree and urged her to translate this child's strange tongue. Bridget began. She says you are to build a great fire and that you are to hold I don't understand this word, a yakunatima. Yes, go on, go on. She continued. Kola will appear in the fire. Kola will tell you what needs to be done. Kola. Yes, very good, child. Anything else? Yes. She says, do not trust me. Bridget smiled at him, and the shaman laughed, a deep, satisfied laugh at the strange white girl. The men of the town roared with laughter. But after this message was delivered, the child fell from the tree and was soon her old self, with no memory of that day's events. That evening, the sisters gathered from the safety of the mission's windows to watch the spectacle that was about to unfold. They observed the villagers dancing around the fire, working themselves into a frenzy. They marveled at the shamans who wore carved masks representing the different demons and vas that might afflict the people. But they were shocked when they saw what they knew as Satan, but the villagers referred to as Kola moving in the fire. It was unmistakable. He conferred with the shamans, and after the ritual was completed, the shamans and the villagers were at the door of the mission, demanding to be let in. Satan, or Kola, told the shamans to remove the statues of the Virgin Mary that stood atop the four corners of the mission, and the town would soon be cured of this blight, and prosperity would return to the people. And the crowd demanded this in earnest, and for some time the shamans did as well. But the shamans were very wise men, and when the apostolic Carmel sisters showed them how no one from the mission was afflicted at all, they were in awe. And when they explained that it was actually the Virgin Mary that had kept the mission's inhabitants healthy, that the demon was trying to trick them, they saw the logic of it. Instead, they convinced them to place small statues of Mary, which the sisters quickly retrieved and provided in all their homes that night, and that the mission would immediately commission a giant statue of Mary to be built in the square at the center of town to keep the people safe. Within days, the villagers were cured from their disease that had afflicted them for so long, and the town returned to happier ways. For the mission, it was a boon, as word spread of the Virgin Mary who healed. People came from all around to pray to her and convert and learn their new faith. This story was relayed to me by Sister Bridget McGinnis, who traveled from Sri Lanka to America in 1980 to see her sisters and brothers for the first time since her 16th birthday in Ireland. I will never forget her piercing blue eyes, her pale, translucent skin, and my plate piled high with pasta and sausage and meatballs, while she sat across from me, cutting her string of spaghetti into little pieces and eating each bite at a time. She devoted her life to God after receiving a vision from Christ at her church's manger on Christmas Eve in 1916, leaving soon after for Ceylon, not to be seen by her family for over 60 years. Again, I want to thank you for joining me today on another episode of Always Many Incidents. If you enjoyed this story, enjoyed some of my other stories, please go out and get the book, Always Many Incidents, on paperback on Amazon. And please subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll bring you more and more content like this. Cheers. Have a good day.